AHEAD, Action on Health, Employment, Education and Disability, is a partnership of Aberdeen Foyer, Grampian Housing Association and North East Scotland Credit Union, and ourselves, Community Food Initiatives North East. We have somewhere around about 100 community food outlets in the North East here. They largely open for a couple hours a week in church halls, sheltered housing and so on, and offer fruit and veg. What we want to do is open up our services to a much larger group of vulnerable and disadvantaged people in the North East here, and have a wider range of products available. In addition to what we would offer ourselves through the shop is, of course, our other partners' services would be available. So credit union membership, money advice, tenancies, the range of services they provide would be made available to our customers. Volunteers are the backbone of our organisation and, for example, the credit unions.
I've been volunteering for 7 years. I suffer from depression, so it's happy if I could come in here and speak to the customers.
I have learning difficulties, which made me feel like I wasn't capable for working. Volunteering gave me the confidence and gave me the courage to keep on going, and basically I managed to get somewhere I never thought I'd be.
We have at the moment between 80 and 100 volunteers, and we want to double and more that number. If we were to be successful in getting the People's Postcode Lottery Dream funding, what it would do is bring our partnership alive, and what it would mean is thousands of vulnerable and disadvantaged families and community would benefit from the range of services our partnership offers.
Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We're at the World Community Film Festival, and it was a little bit windy outside, although extremely sunny.
It's a beautiful day out there.
But unfortunately, when the wind hits us, you can't hear a thing we're saying, so we decided to move into one of the theaters.
We are co-hosting Transitions, a film about community and initiatives around the world.
And if you have a chance to check it out on the internet, we're going to run all of the links for all of the films that are on the World Community Film Festival, and it is phenomenal and an exceptional amount of information. In the theater where we're hosting at 1 p.m., they were just showing a documentary on Palestine and some people who ran through there, Palestine in a 4-day period, showing exactly what it's like on the ground with the apartheid nation and all of the injustices that are going on there.
However, there is a similar situation going on right here in North America. Detroit's in a lot of trouble. It's a bankrupt city, and things are not going well.
If you ever want to see an example of how bad things are run when the federal government runs a municipality, just take a look at the destitute poverty that Detroit has been left into. We have a number of clips here talking about the way people of Detroit are digging themselves out.
Yeah, here's a group of concerned citizens who are working on funding different initiatives to get their city off the ground. It's called Detroit Soup. Check it out.
We're just a group of artists and creative people, thinkers, that really wanted to gather people together to talk about Detroit, but also fund a creative project in the city with the funds that are collected from the door. So for $5 you come in, you get soup, salad, bread, and a vote. And you get to hear from these proposals and projects, and from there, vote on what project you think would best benefit your neighborhood or the community as a whole of Detroit. We've given out $10,000 to local projects. There's been park cleanups, there's been new neighborhood development, there's neighbors meeting neighbors who didn't otherwise know that they were each other's neighbors. When 6 months into a project you're already featured in the New York Times, you feel like, oh, well, you're onto something. But that just opens up the door where, up until this point, I've been a volunteer, but starting in the next few weeks, I've wrote and received a grant from the Knight Foundation to do our operating costs as well as growing costs. So we're able to grow more soups in different areas and give them the foundational supplies. Oh, that's something that we're going to do too. We're going to build a community garden to feed the people who come to Detroit Soups. And so maybe more community gardens are built, and that community garden really becomes like the metaphor for their soup dinner. I get a lot of interviews from people who say, like, well, what projects did you fund? I said, well, we didn't do anything other than provide an opportunity for the dinners. It was the people in the community who felt like it was safe to share their idea with other people. And it makes Detroit better the more that we all are just saying, hey, did you know? I have, you have, okay, cool, let's all help one another. And that to me is when real neighborhood rooting starts to happen, like when real community foundation starts to be built. And what I want is other people to take in a very easy project, an easy project that takes 2 or 3 people at first to really say, I believe in you and your idea, would you care to share it around a soup pot?
So you can see what people can do with their own initiative, and they leave government out of it and take care of things on their own. It's using the common unity to move things forward.
I like that, common unity.
Yeah.
Community, okay? And it does make sense because we are the solution in small different ways. If you plant a garden, if you decide to shop at a local store instead of a big box store, you are part of the solution, and we're here to really promote that. In West Virginia, citizens are getting together.
Yeah, there was that huge chemical spill caused real problems for their water supply, but people are stepping up, not depending on the government again, and taking care of each other.
So while the company is trying to make the municipality pay for the cleanup,
they're still charging them for water.
And the injustice continues, we want you to check this out.
It's been nearly 2 months since Freedom Industries put the lives of 300,000 people at risk when they accidentally dumped 10,000 gallons of a highly toxic chemical into the state's water supply. Over 400 people have since been sent to the hospital, and it's still unclear whether the water coming from the taps fed by the Elk River is safe to drink. In the wake of the disaster, grassroots organization West Virginia Clean Water Hub sprung into action, organizing clean water deliveries and connecting affected communities with volunteers and donors from around the state. And as soon as they got the ball rolling, other groups such as Aurora Lights, Coal River Mountain Watch, Keeper of the Mountains Foundation, Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition, and RAMPS joined the effort. Now, what's so special about community and activists coming together? Well, the activists are mostly environmentalists, and the people of West Virginia tend to be hardline coal industry supporters. But in West Virginia right now, it seems that everyone is putting politics aside. Nate May, a volunteer organizer with West Virginia Clean Water Hub, had this to say, quote, "We don't like to polarize or politicize. The concern is if we make it about our issue, then it feels like missionary work or like we're trying to buy people. But clean water is an unconditional right."
Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing what happened out there in West Virginia. Seeing the community come forward when government and industry failed them.
And they weren't.
You know, when you see that failure happen, so what happens? People from different political ideologies step up and say, no, we're going to fix the problem ourselves. We're going to go out and get clean water. We're going to bring it to the people who are drinking dirty water right now.
And I'm going to take that water and I'm going to help people, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you're a dirty environmentalist, so I'm going to take it. I think this is what it sees. You're like, oh, I get it.
So if you take a look at some of the oil spills that there are out there right now, we've seen that they've been covered up by major media pretty quick.
Yeah, they're not talking about them too much.
And it's kind of strange that the oil companies expect everyone to pay when they're the ones who messed up. 300,000 people lost their water, and apparently the oil company is still getting their water for free. Okay.
There's another group of concerned citizens in Detroit again, doing something called the Pay It Forward Initiative. And they're getting people back into the workforce, helping them out through community involvement.
So this is kind of awesome stuff. Check it out.
My name is Charlie Cavell. I run a nonprofit called the Pay It Forward Initiative. We provide job matching internships, so we employ, educate, and empower young adults in Detroit who don't have opportunities. And what we do is we recruit them, and then we match them up with jobs at places like Quicken Loans, Tim Hortons, Gleaners Food Bank, a total of 7 organizations and businesses around the city. We match them up with jobs for 4 months. We pay them through grant funding. And then also on Saturdays, we have education, so financial management, entrepreneurship, and job skills classes to help our interns build a foundation that they can grow from. So this cohort of 16 interns that we have now, they have 5 of them live in shelters, 6 of them have children of their own, and 12 out of the 16 aged out of foster care. So needless to say, rough times for these interns. I think the big thing that you need to have is passion, right? I'm excited to say, I'm gonna help these 16 interns right here, right now, and I'm gonna have a meeting with the Urban Exchange film guys so that the message gets spread, that more people can do more things to get opportunity, right? Because anyone can do it. You just have to care about your neighbor. And I think that that's really what it is. And here's breakfast. Thank you.
So it's one of my favorite types of shows.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the people actually cultivating the social pathogen.
Social pathogen.
Yeah.
Wow, right on, man. I'm getting educated right now. It's kind of appropriate because we're at the Okanagan University College, the World Community Film Festival, right here where there are a lot of solutions being discussed. We are hosting, or co-hosting, Transition, documentary on some of the innovations that are involved. And we've got a whole other segment that we're presenting right now.
Yes, we'll be back to talk more about the common unity. I'm Robert Nisbet.
I'm Darren Howard.
And you've been watching Radio Free Canada.
We'll be back after this lack of commercial messages.
Melting ice caps in the Arctic have ignited a military buildup over the world's smallest ocean and the raw riches buried beneath it. The Arctic Circle is believed to contain 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas and 15% of its oil.
The future of the world economy to some extent is dependent on the Arctic, and I think, Russia and Canada, the United States and Norway and Denmark are very interested in exploiting these resources.
Last month, Canada abruptly claimed that it owned the North Pole, while the United States, with its Alaskan outpost, has plans to boost its military there, claiming it lacks operational experience and needs to police the thinning ice as it's replaced by fuel-filled maritime traffic. But that's not all.
Actually, U.S. submarines are deployed not too far away, off the Norwegian coast. It would take U.S. missiles 16 to 17 minutes to get from there to Moscow. So we really hope that with all the things that have been happening in the world over the past few decades, we have put the Cold War confrontation behind us.
In all, 5 countries bordering the Arctic have sovereign rights to resources within 200 nautical miles of their territorial waterways. But a growing appetite for a bigger slice of the pie is what many fear can inevitably spark a 21st century Cold War in the frozen water. Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.
Just a stone's throw from the seat of government in Westminster is something that's becoming a more and more common sight in the UK. This building's used as a food bank, handing out emergency supplies to families so poor they can't afford to eat. As the cost of living rises, the number of people turning to food banks increases with it. Funding's tighter all the time. But nevertheless, the government has turned down a potential £22 million in funding for food aid. Why? Because the money comes from the European Union. The European Aid for the Most Deprived Fund amounts to £2.5 billion, but the position Britain's taken means the country will receive just £2.9 million. And instead of using that for food aid as intended, it's expected the government will spend it on helping unemployed people find work. All well and good, say critics, but there are people who need survival basics now, and this money is meant for them. My colleague Polly Boyko has been to meet one of the unlucky many.
You find yourself in this situation where you're like begging for food when there's no need to, really. We're surviving still. How long for is another matter.
Food banks used to serve a tiny minority. There's now one in every area. They're mainstream. And for many of those struggling to make ends meet, the only lifeline left is charity. Polly Boyko, RT, London.
Canada used to have what is called a social safety net. That net used to consist of welfare and UI checks, and it ensured that people would not have to steal to live. But now there are no effective social safety nets left, except for the richest of the rich. How does it work? Well, it's pretty simple. Major corporations are awarded subsidies, tax breaks, and eased regulations, and you are not. Not convinced? Just remember that you pay 65% of your wages in taxes, and Canadian banks, corporations, pay no taxes at all. But things are changing. From Egypt to Toronto, from Victoria to Halifax, people are winning battles by standing up for what is right. People like me and you. On January 28th, we are asking you to go to your city hall at 12 noon all across the country. Spread this video around and stand up against corporate welfare and get our safe streets back in an effective way.